Hey guys, for anybody that doesn't know, I do Twitch streams every Tuesday night and Thursday night drop on them. And my backdrop for, until recently, for those streams used to be a bookshelf loaded up with DVDs and Blu-rays. And I had a couple of requests about doing a video, kind of going through the whole collection because it looks so big. Everyone's kind of curious, I guess, to see what I got. I just moved, and so I thought this would be a good opportunity to actually do that because I had to take them all off the shelf and reorganize them and everything anyway. So here I am. I'm gonna do that. It sounded like fun. I really like watching videos like this on YouTube, anything to do with movies or whatever. It's never really been something I was interested in pursuing to do that kind of like reviews and stuff like that, because there's a lot of it already. But if you like this video, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make more. If you want to hear more about a specific movie or my thoughts on a specific movie or this or that or whatever. I don't know what form that I'll take if I do it at all, but maybe I will. There's two versions of this. There's one that's all the collection of my animated movies, because I'm an animator and I collect a lot of like obscure animated movies as well, just like pretty much anything animated that I get my hands on. I'm not as fervent of a collector now as I was, but I do still add to the collection very regularly. By the way, this isn't a weird flex on like how many movies I have. I just love movies and it's an excuse to talk about them. And it was asked to. So the first thing, I got two box set gift set things that can't really fit in the stack like normal, so I'm going to show those first, and then it'll be more or less alphabetical order, unless something got filed in it. So this is actually the Blu-ray collector set of the Back to the Future trilogy that lights up flux capacitor, and it's autographed by Christopher Lloyd. The whole reason I bought this was because Christopher Lloyd was coming to Fan Expo in Vancouver, where I live, and really I'm a lifelong fan of Back to the Future, so I wanted to get it signed. I already had it on Blu-ray, or DVD, but I wanted to get this just to get an autograph. I haven't rewatched the series since getting this autograph, so I haven't even had a chance to really open this. I was in the middle of a project at the time, and I was too busy to get to it. But there's probably loads of bonus features that I haven't seen yet, so I will definitely do that. It's one of the main reasons I love getting these movies. I like rewatching movies. I don't always have time to rewatch them, but I love watching all the behind-the-scenes stuff, things like that. The other one, box set that I have that I'll show first, is Bond. This is the 50th anniversary edition Blu-ray set. This is actually the whole reason I got a Blu-ray player, was so I could get this. It has everything from Dr. No all the way up to technically it came with all the way up to Quantum of Solace, but it came with like an empty slot, so you can buy Skyfall separately and add it. So I did that, so it's got all the way up to Skyfall. Always been a Bond fan. Not all the movies are great. Some of them outright suck. But most of the time, even the ones that are only half decent, are at least kind of fun to watch when you're in the mood for that. I actually really want to do a rewatch of all the movies, but no longer. Anyway, let's start going through them alphabetically. Ace Ventura. First up, probably my favorite Jim Carrey movie or Jim Carrey comedy. It's I don't know, there's not a lot to say about Ace Ventura. The sequel is fun in its own right, I guess, but it's like it has some standout really good moments, but it doesn't hold together like the original Ace Ventura. That's when I watched that a bunch as a kid, and then eventually was like, I gotta rewatch that. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. This one I watched this quite a bit as a kid. It says it's Abbott and Costello, the comedians, famous for the Who's on First shtick, and they meet Frankenstein monster, Dracula, and Wolfman. Dracula is played by Bela Lugosi, the original. Wolfman is Lon Chaney Jr. I forget the name. The guy that does Frankenstein is not Boris Karloff. I think it's like something Strange or something like that. It's a really weirdly appropriate name for an actor playing Frankenstein. It's a classic. I love old movies, as you're going to soon see. But that still makes me laugh. And a lot of comedies from that era, even though I might enjoy them on one level, they don't they're not usually laughing a lot of money. But also, actually, fun fact too, I think Quentin Tarantino one time said this is one of his favorite movies because he liked that the funny parts were funny and the scary parts were scary. They weren't like hamming up the scary parts and making it goofy. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It's not an amazing movie by any stretch, but I am a sucker for these kind of like pulpy, cheesy kind of monster movies and B movies and stuff like that sometimes. This is a bigger budget than a lot of those ones do, but the premise is just so ridiculous I could not, like, a lot of people hate this movie. I'm not going to say I'm loving it. It would be a stretch. I'm not going to call it an amazing movie by any stretch, but I did enjoy it when I saw it. I haven't revisited it a lot, but I obviously liked it enough that I bought it. I haven't watched it. Although I have bought some movies that are good as well. There's Adventures in Babysitting. Classic from the 80s. Chris Columbus, I think it was his first directing movie. This will always be a classic. It's great. I noticed Disney Plus is a remake, or maybe even 2 remakes of it. I haven't seen them. I doubt they're as good. Well, maybe I'll give them a chance one day. If you haven't seen Adventures in Babysitting, though, it's a good one. AI, Artificial Intelligence. This is actually a fairly recent addition, just because I'd never seen it. Some of my favorite movies of all time were directed by Steven Spielberg, and so the fact that he had done a sci-fi movie that I somehow missed and never saw. Like, I was aware of it when it came out, but I just didn't see it right away. And then it came up. Somebody was calling it one of their favorites, so it was like, I'm finally going to watch this movie. And found it. It is good, by the way. It's not one that I necessarily see me rewatching over and over and over again. Some of it's like super sad, some of it's a little slow. But Air Force One. This was among the first DVDs that I ever bought, probably. I was probably like 14, 15, something like that. Air Force One is a pretty good action movie. Yes, I don't remember it actually as well as you would think, I guess. It's kind of longish, so it's one that I liked a lot when I saw it, but I didn't rewatch it a lot. Airplane. Probably one of my favorite comedies of all time. Gotta love Airplane. Goofy, cartoony comedy. So not everyone's into those kind of slapsticky ones, but if you are, check it out. Don't go by like Scary Movie and Epic Movie and stuff. Those are the shitty ones that want to be Airplane, but they don't come anywhere near it. Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. I was super hyped to see this when it came out because I love Tim Burton, and I thought his chance to see him mess around with Wonderland would probably be super cool and weird. I was actually pretty let down the first time I saw it, to be honest. A lot of people were. It didn't get the greatest reviews. So I was pretty let down. I was also drunk the first time I watched it. Me and a friend met up at a pub, shared a couple pictures, and then went and saw Alice in Wonderland. It has some really cool visuals in it, but it doesn't feel like that Tim Burton-y to me, which was, I think, the biggest reason I was disappointed. But because I'm a Tim Burton fan, and because I was drunk, I wanted to give it another chance, so I bought it when it was on a discount bin. And I have learned to like it a lot more on repeat viewings. It definitely has its issues. I think it would have been better if they just did a straight adaptation instead of trying to do this weird sequel hybrid thing, but whatever. Ant-Man, certified fresh sticker on the cover. I own all the Marvel movies at this point. Some are better than others, but I've enjoyed them all on at least some level. So I'm a completist, so I like filling in the gaps. I've liked them all enough that I probably would buy them, I guess, but I probably would have got them just for the sake of having that complete collection. Ant-Man and the Wasp, of course, the sequel. Not as good as the first one, but really entertaining. And Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp is badass. Here's Analyze This and Analyze That. Analyze This is a great comedy directed by Harold Ramis. One of his later ones, one of the last ones that he actually did. Before he kind of took a long hiatus before he passed away. And it's great. Robert De Niro, Billy Crystal. Analyze That is the sequel, and not very good. I don't remember, but I know Analyze This very well because I watched it a lot when it came out. But Analyze That was a letdown. Not the same. So I bought that for the sake of Analyze This, but An American Werewolf in London. Not my all-time favorite horror movie, but it's definitely probably up there, maybe in the top 5. Great early practical werewolf effects. First time we saw true transformation on screen. American Graffiti. And George Lucas classic, pre-Star Wars George Lucas. This is a really, really good movie. Classic. I love that cover too. I'm gonna kill these stickers off. I'm surprised I didn't do that. I wish George. I'm a Star Wars fan, but I wish George would have done more of that to show he's got a bit more range than I think most people give him credit for. AVP double features, the 2 Alien vs Predator movies. Neither of them are really that good. I went on a bender of watching the Alien movies and the Predator movies, and I hadn't actually seen these, and I heard they weren't that great, but I was like, I gotta give them a shot. The first one is it has some cool lore, world building type stuff in it, but it's a little slow. The second one has a bit more in the way of fun monster battle type stuff, but it's not very good. Here is the Alien quadrology. So this is before they did Covenant and Prometheus. This one came out backwards. I'm a fan. The first 2 are by far the best. The third one, it's kind of a neat watch because it's David Fincher learning to become David Fincher, but he had all kinds of issues on it because of production stuff. So, studio execs pushing him around and everything, or trying to push him around. So it didn't turn out that well. Alien Resurrection, I think it's a fun sci-fi action movie, but it's tonally very different from the rest of it, so it's kind of a black sheep. The Amazing Spider-Man. It pissed me off when they made this movie because it seemed way too soon to be retelling the Spider-Man origin, remaking it and everything. And it was. But I didn't mind what they were going to do. If they were going to do it, I thought they did a decent job of it. Some stuff I didn't like, but it was okay. It was fine. This one, on the other hand, not so good. Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like I said, I'm a completist. I had the first one. I assumed at this point they were going to do a third one, so I wanted to kind of have that next chapter in it. Also, I was let down by certain things in the theaters. It wasn't until the second viewing that I really, really was let down by it. I was kind of like, well, this was really cheesy. I wish they didn't do this. Why is Jamie Foxx playing the Riddler from Batman Forever? Yada yada yada. But it was like, but this part was cool. I think Gwen Stacy's storyline was handled really well. So, so I was kind of, I think I just wanted to like it, to be honest. Angels and Demons. This is based on the book. As a movie, it's the sequel to Da Vinci Code. As a book, it actually comes before the Da Vinci Code. I have Da Vinci Code here as well. I like that the books are major page turners. They're hard not to enjoy. The movies just lag a bit. They're not as fast-paced feeling as the books are. I like them enough, but I feel less and less impressed with them as time goes on, I think. Argo. Bought this one sight unseen. It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars. At least 1 or 2 people that I knew had seen it were talking really highly of it. It is a good movie. It would be worth me rewatching, but I haven't revisited it since buying it. Army of Darkness. Love Sam Raimi. Love Bruce Campbell. Love Evil Dead and all that comes with it. What else can I say? Army of Darkness is awesome. Here we have Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1. I got this previously viewed somewhere. Forget where it was. Hadn't seen it, but just because I was a fan, I was going to watch it. It's a really fun show. So I went on then to get Season 2. Also continued to be really good. There's a third and final season that I haven't got yet. Just haven't had a chance. I think it's on Netflix, but being the completist, I'm probably going to buy it. Assassination of a High School President. I don't remember if I'd seen it before or what the deal was, why exactly I got it, but it is good. It's kind of like a film noir detective murder story applied to like real world high school drama. So it's very kind of tongue-in-cheek, dark tone, but you don't take it seriously. The A-Team. A lot of people hated this movie. Apparently it had I don't know, I think it might be a record number of screenwriters got credited on or something like that. It's not an amazing movie if you're going to dissect the plot and yada yada yada. But just for fun action, it's very entertaining. All 3 Austin Powers movies. watched them all growing up, and then hadn't seen them in forever. Wanted to rewatch them, so I got the set on DVD so that I could do that. Still enjoyed them quite a bit. It's been a few years again now. Avatar. As a movie buff and movie collector, everyone had to buy Avatar when it came out, of course. I do like Avatar a lot. I don't think it's an amazing best movie of all time or anything like that, but I enjoyed it when it came out. Avengers, the original Avengers. Like I said, all the Marvel ones are on here. Avengers Age of Ultron. Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Endgame, naturally. Changing it up, here's the Babadook. Great horror movie. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. It's one of those things that wants to represent something other than just a monster. Genius. Those ones too are really fun to watch. Just in the dark room by yourself. Baby Driver. I love Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright might actually be my favorite director working. I have it. There's definitely a few, but I think Edgar Wright is the one that if I hear he's making a movie, I'm excited to see it, no matter what it's about. I don't even know what it's about. If he did it, then I'll give it a shot. And here's Back to the Future again. So I already had it on DVD before I bought that set. I'll probably actually put this in a separate pile. I might give this away or donate it or something like that. I don't need 2 copies of it. I'll double check, I guess, what is included in case I'm missing, but I assume they're all. Let's put that over there for now. Bad Boys 2. I don't have Bad Boys 1, actually. Bad Boys 1 I had on VHS for forever, and then by the time this one came out, it was the DVD era. And I just never went back and rebought Bad Boys 1, although I did like it. I'm a defender of early Michael Bay. Once he got into his Transformers phase, he just started repeating himself, and just everything was for the paycheck. He just took the easy route. So, well, this made me $1 billion last time, so I'll do it again. He's gotten too high on himself, I think. But this one, his early ones, they're pretty good. Pre-Transformers, Michael Bay. Barbarella. Cheesy sci-fi movie about the super sexy space vixen secret agent Barbarella superhero. It's fun. It's hokey, but it's fun. I like retro B movies. Based on a French comic book, by the way. Batman. Tim Burton's Batman. One of my all-time favorites. First movie I actually have the memory of seeing in theaters, and it blew the back of my head off. And of course, the follow-up, Batman Returns. As a kid, I like Batman 1 better. This one, as a comic book fan, it's ridiculously different from the source material. But just as a really cool Tim Burton does a superhero movie, it's awesome. Visually, it's great. He got like complete creative freedom on it. I would actually argue it's probably better. Even though I think the first one was Batman Begins. The first of Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Which I think is underrated, actually, because the Dark Knight gets so much love. Batman Begins was great, and also, too, everyone brags about how much we've seen the origin story. We've seen his parents die a lot, for sure. You don't need to keep seeing that. That is the only movie that actually showed us how he trained and became Batman, and how he made choices he did. The Dark Knight, this is breaking the alphabetizing a little bit, just to have it next to Batman Begins. But the Dark Knight, need I say more? Reflective cover. That one, by the way, really lame bonus features. One of the lamest ones was it had the IMAX version of the scenes that they shot in IMAX. But unless you happen to have an IMAX screen in your room, what are you doing with that? You know. Anyway, Dark Knight Rises. To cap it off, nowhere near as good as Dark Knight or Batman Begins, in my opinion. But I don't think it's terrible either. This one could be better. Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. I wanted to like this movie so bad, and I was pretty disappointed in it when I saw it in theaters. But I'm an easy mark for some of these movies. I'm becoming less and less of an easy mark on them in more recent years. Never bought Justice League. But yeah, I wanted to like it. They released but I was disappointed. They released the Ultimate Edition. Everyone was saying it's better than the original, like the theatrical cut. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna get it. I did like parts of it from the beginning. Love Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. I thought Ben Affleck was a great Batman. And all the Batman specific scenes were pretty good. But the Ultimate Edition is definitely a much better movie. It makes a lot more narrative sense, but it doesn't make up for all the flaws. There's plenty of flaws. Beetlejuice. One of my favorites growing up. Would watch this pretty much every Halloween. Still watch it fairly frequently around the Halloween season. Not every year, but sometimes. Another Tim Burton one. Big Eyes. I've only seen this one the one time since I bought it. Tim's been a little bit more hit and miss in recent years. But up until around this time, I would pretty much just buy anything he made. He's one of my faves, I guess, even if they're not all winners. Largely because of that Batman influence. But this is worth checking out. This is even if you don't like Tim Burton for that matter, this is a bit of a departure for him. It's a true story about the artist that did these paintings back in the 60s, and her husband was credited for it, but it was actually her that made them. And there's a lawsuit and all that stuff. Coincidentally, again, another Tim Burton movie, Big Fish. Also, at the time, a little bit of a departure. He got more into the bright colors and stuff after this, but I think this was the first one I saw of him that I was kind of like, oh, he's not doing his dark, twisted circles under the eyes thing and everything. Yeah, if you haven't watched Big Fish, it's a really fun kind of fantasy movie. People described it as like Wizard of Oz of that year. I don't agree with that. I think it's very different from Wizard of Oz, but it has a sense of wonder about it, I guess. The Big Lebowski, great comedy, one that you enjoy more the more you see it. Like the first time I saw it, I was kind of, I was also maybe a little too good for it. But now I love it. Now it might be among my favorite comedies. Big Trouble in Little China. This is the first John Carpenter movie of several in the collection. I love John Carpenter, and I love Big Trouble in Little China. It's so much campy, pulpy, comic booky style fun. God, I love that. And Jack Burton. So the Adam Sandler collection, I guess I put it here because Billy Madison is written at the top. It's Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. Of course, the two movies that really catapulted him in the first place. This was a gift. I don't know if it's one that I would have like bought on my own, but I have watched it at least a couple times since getting it. But it's yeah, I don't know. They're probably still among his best. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I haven't seen the new one yet, and I don't have Bogus Journey, but I want to get Bogus Journey, and I want to get the new one if I really watch that one as well. But Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, great 80s sci-fi comedy, time traveling comedy. How can you go wrong? Birdman. I bought this sight unseen as well because it was getting all this Oscar buzz. Everyone was talking about it. I also figured the whole one continuous take thing alone made it kind of worthwhile from a collector's standpoint, I guess. If I had seen it before buying it, I don't know if I would have bought it, or maybe I would have, but I would have waited until it was on a discount bin or something. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's an amusing movie. I think the way it's done is really cool because it's not the first to do it, but you don't see it too often. But yeah, it's good, but it was just there's a lot of hype. Big Friendly Giant. This was a Christmas gift a few years ago. I'm like I said, lifelong Steven Spielberg fan, and this was my mom hunting it down. Knowing that I buy so many movies, she doesn't not give movies gifts that often because people sort of assume, or at least in more recent years, assume that I might have bought it. But she knew I hadn't seen this one. She took a shot on it, and it is a good movie. Sorry, I got caught up. Don't need to deal with that. Yeah, based on the Roald Dahl story. Black Dynamite. comedy that parodies blaxploitation movies from the 70s. This is a hilarious movie, independent movie, starring Michael J. White, the guy that played Spawn back in the day, and he co-wrote it as well. It's very good. Black Panther. I'm gonna say it's great. Wakanda forever. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Blade Trinity. So I like the first two Blade movies quite a bit. And I had them on VHS, and then so the third one came out, and I hadn't seen it, but DVDs were a thing, so I went screw it, and I bought it. And it wasn't actually all that good. I have rewatched it since. It does have redeemable qualities in it. Ryan Reynolds, Jessica Biel are pretty good in it. Yeah, so it's not terrible. It's by far it's not terrible, but it's not great. It's by far the weakest of the series. Blade 2 is probably my favorite. One day, like watch it once. Blade Runner, the final cut. I think this might actually be the only version of the movie I've seen. I think, but I had seen it a couple times before I bought it. What movie collector wouldn't have Blade Runner? And then followed by Blade Runner 2049, which actually, at least narratively, I think is honestly better than the original. Boondock Saints, indie action classic. Willem Dafoe plays gives a great performance in it. Action movie, but healthy dose of comedy in it as well. And the sequel, Boondock Saints 2, All Saints Day. The Bourne Identity, followed by The Bourne Supremacy, The Bourne Ultimatum, and then of course The Bourne Legacy. Never got Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne I watched when it was on Netflix. I was pretty let down with it. They should have left well enough alone. If they were going to continue with it, I think this would have been the way to go. Legacy wasn't great, but it also wasn't bad. It was a decent action movie. I think going back to the well after you've kind of ended that character's story was kind of a mistake. Bowfinger. If you haven't watched Bowfinger, watch Bowfinger, especially if you're a movie fan. This is a good movie about movies. It's about a guy played by Steve Martin trying to trick a big Hollywood actor into starring in his indie sci-fi movie. Bulletproof. Another early Adam Sandler movie, but very different. It's an action comedy, kind of buddy cop movie with Damon Wayans. Worth checking out. Damon's an undercover cop that kind of screwed over Adam Sandler. And Cabin in the Woods. It might rank among my favorite horror movies, actually. It's so recent, I feel like it's hard to really walk it in there for sure. But it's I do very much enjoy Cabin in the Woods. Caddyshack. Great classic comedy, of course. I won't call it one of my favorites, but it is one that I do very much love to go back and revisit. And I quote Bill Murray from that fairly frequently. Captain America, the first Avenger. I think people are kind of realizing how cool this one was now, but I think when it first came out, it didn't necessarily strike the chord. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, probably one of my favorite of the Marvel movies. I think that one and the original Iron Man probably. And then Captain America, Civil War, which is very good, but I like Winter Soldier more. Captain Marvel. I like Captain Marvel. I just rewatched it recently. This was kind of the last Marvel movie that I got, I think. I liked it more, actually, the second time than I did the first time. I liked it fine the first time, but I liked it more the second time. Carrie. This is a classic. This is the first Stephen King novel and the first one ever adapted into a movie. It is a good movie. It made Sissy Spacek a star. I don't think it's aged super well, though. I mean, there's room they could have improved stuff in there, I think, if they were gonna. But the remakes have been terrible, so what do I know? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, another addition to the Tim Burton collection, of course. I like Gene Wilder more as Willy Wonka than Johnny Depp. I'm not crazy on Johnny Depp's portrayal of the character, but I think the movie is actually entertaining, and I think because the original is such a classic, nobody wants to give it that credit. Club Dread by Broken Lizards, fun slasher movie parody. It's entertaining for sure. Club Paradise. This is a I want to say a little known gem. It's Robin Williams and a bunch of people from like the Second City era, SCTV and stuff. You know those guys, Rick Moranis, Eugene Levy and stuff. Robin Williams plays a retired fireman that opens a resort in some tropical island, and hilarity. You can see it. Clue. Finally watched this for the first. I got this as part of a 2-for deal. I was trying to find a specific movie a while back. I had always wanted to see this. It was available in that same deal, so I got it with it. Then forgot I had it because I couldn't watch it right away. Finally, just watched it. It is good. It was and it's interesting. It had multiple endings and stuff. It reminds me of another movie that is one of my favorite all-time movies. That's better than Clue, but it is similar vein. Jerry Seinfeld, comedian. I don't think I was that into this the first time I watched it, but I liked it a lot the second time. I briefly, at one time, flirted with the idea of trying stand-up, and that was kind of inspiring. The Conjuring. Conjuring 2. Probably some of the best haunted house movies of recent years, for sure. Constantine. So this is a weird one. I saw Constantine in theaters and liked it, and then bought it on DVD. And then when I rewatched it, I really wasn't digging on it at all. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't have bought this one. And I haven't watched it again since. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's the mood I was in, whatever. But this recently had an anniversary, and people have been talking a lot about it and how much people have liked it. So I've been really wanting to rewatch this for a while. Hey, I haven't. So why not? Corman's World is a documentary about Roger Corman, who is famous for doing a lot of B movies in the 50s and stuff. And wrote a book, How to Make 100 Movies and Never Lost a Dime. Cowboys and Aliens. I think I like this movie more than most. It took itself a lot more seriously than I was expecting, and I think that maybe is where a lot of the audience was lost. But there's something satisfying about seeing Cowboy, Harrison Ford and Cowboy, Daniel Craig, fighting aliens and stuff. Wouldn't mind rewatching that one sometime soon. Crank. I wasn't crazy on Crank 2, but I really, really enjoyed Crank 1. Really fun, non-stop adrenaline rush of an action movie. Creature from the Black Lagoon, one of my favorite, or probably my favorite, monster movie, 50s monster of it. I really should get the other ones. I did 3 of these. The first one's definitely the best, but the other 2 aren't bad. And this version includes the 3D version. I've never watched the 3D version. Don't have a 3D TV. Don't really care about it. Creepshow. Bunch of short horror stories written by Stephen King, directed by George A. Romero. It is super fun. If you're a kid watching this, then this would be a really good sleepover movie for you. Great movie to watch around Halloween. The Crow, the original Crow. The sequels all kind of suck. The original Crow is great. Of course, it had the tragic story of Brandon Lee behind it. Cutthroat Island. This one, I think this bankrupted whatever studio was that made it. I forget what the studio was. It is it an amazing movie? Definitely not, but it is fun. This is Pirates before Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, I think that was. I just didn't find that balance to make Pirates work. I have 2 versions of this. This is the director's cut of Daredevil, and I have the original Daredevil as well. This movie is actually the Netflix series is much better. Don't get me wrong, but the movie's kind of a little underrated, I would argue. It doesn't. There's some stuff in it that really does not work well at all. Some of the effects are pretty shitty. I like Jennifer Garner in general. I think she was a weird choice for Elektra. And some of the scenes of her and Affleck interplaying aren't that good. But there is some good stuff in it. And if you watch the director's cut, the movie instantly becomes about 60% better. Because the director's cut actually has a plot. It kind of they decided they didn't want the plot with the actual version apparently, so they cut it out. So it's just a bunch of action scenes basically. Dark Shadows. I like a lot of this movie. I think it's pretty long. It's almost a full 2 hours, and I think it should be like a 90-minute movie. I think at 90 minutes it would have been really fun. At almost 2 hours, it starts to drag a little bit, but there is a lot of fun stuff to be had in there. Date night. My cousin actually bought this while she was living with the family a while back, and forgot to bring it with her when she left, and it just worked its way into my collection. It's fun movie. Thanks for that. The Da Vinci Code. Mentioned it earlier, so I won't get too into it, but yeah, it's okay, it's fine, but it doesn't have quite the same impact on me as it once did. Day of the Earth Stood Still. Great sci-fi movie from the 50s. They did the remake with Keanu Reeves. Had potential to be really good, even as a remake, even as a fan of the original one, but it wasn't. But the original one will forever be a great sci-fi movie. The Die Hard trilogy. So it's just the original three. Always loved Die Hard, especially this time of year. And then Live Free or Die Hard. Tonally, it's a bit different. It feels, the whole franchise, it starts off feeling very grounded. It gets a little bit more over the top. This one gets extremely over the top. Didn't necessarily feel like Die Hard that much to me the first time I watched it, but I enjoyed it anyway because the action was really fun. When I rewatched it after I bought it, I thought, Deadpool. Deadpool, and we have Deadpool 2 over here. I rewatched these recently. I was having like a long day. I just needed to watch something fun, so I did a double feature. Death Proof. This is Quentin Tarantino's half of the Grindhouse movie. I like the other half, which I'll get to eventually, better for sure. I think that this is a well-made movie that is about 20 to 30 minutes too long. It's not even that long to begin with. But there's a lot to like in it. Death Race 2050. This is Roger Corman produced a sequel several years later to the original Death Race 2000. I've only watched this once and I actually fell asleep during it. It's not a reflection of the movie. I was just too late when I started it. I can't really comment on the quality of it. I'm gonna say it's probably not a great movie, but it's the kind of campy, schlocky, pulpy kind of thing that sometimes I really like to watch. District 9, really good sci-fi movie. This is one that I've liked more and more on repeat viewings, but I did quite like it a lot. Django Unchained. I would say probably Quentin's most kind of audience-friendly, palpable kind of movie. Like it's just the storytelling is very linear, lots of action, lots of comedy. Dragonheart. This actually also includes a sequel, A New Beginning, which I've never seen even since buying this, because I always look kind of shitty. I should give it a chance, but I always loved the original Die Hard, or not Die Hard, Dragonheart. Sean Connery as the voice of Draco. I am the last one. Dredd. God, I want them to make a sequel to Dredd. Make that sequel to Dredd. Doctor Strange. I won't add anything else, but I like the movie. Donnie Darko. If you haven't seen Donnie Darko, it's worth watching. Not everybody loves it, but even if they don't love it, they'll like talking about it afterwards. So it's one of those movies. Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe is a really good thriller. I've been wanting to rewatch this one. I've actually been thinking about it a lot lately. I don't know why, but yeah. So I will. Doomsday. This is like a cross between Escape from New York and Mad Max, and it's really fun. Lots of action. Very pulpy. Love that pulp. And Due Date. This is almost like a remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. I think it's one that I liked it enough. I was just in that phase where I was just buying everything, and I liked it in the theater. It was like okay, but it wasn't one that needed a lot of repeat watches. Maybe watching it again with fresher eyes, I'll like it a lot more. It's the director of Hangover and eventually The Joker. We have Dumb and Dumber. It's stupid, as the title would lead you to believe, but it's probably among my favorite comedies, I suppose. It never doesn't make me laugh. So, Eagle Eye. The first half of this movie is awesome. It's a great thriller that really makes you guess, and then they kind of give away what is going on in the second half, and it's nowhere near as interesting, and even a little cliched. So it's half of a really good movie and half of an okay movie. Edge of Tomorrow, also known as Live, Die, Repeat. They're apparently doing a sequel to this. I don't know if I want a sequel, but I do really, really, really like Edge of Tomorrow. Like a sequel doesn't make sense, but whatever. Edward Scissorhands. Took me a while to get around to this one, actually. I think I saw it when I was a kid, and I wasn't really that into it. And then, but as a Tim Burton fan, I was like, I gotta give Edward another chance, and did very much like it when I saw it again. Ed Wood. I love movies about movies. This is one of Tim's best. It's Tim Burton again. It looks like his style probably the least, and even though I do like his style, it's just a really good movie about the guy that made Plan 9 from Outer Space. Ernest Scared Stupid. Classic from my childhood. I feel like if a new person were to watch it now and they weren't a kid, they probably wouldn't be too into it, but I definitely enjoy watching it for the nostalgia of it, nothing else. Escape from New York, another John Carpenter classic, Kurt Russell. Great sci-fi fun. Elysium is Neil Blomkamp's follow-up to District 9. It's nowhere near as good as District 9, and the character kind of has almost the exact same arc as the character from D9, but it has some very cool, fun sci-fi stuff, so it was still an enjoyable enough watch. Enemy of the State by Tony Scott with Gene Hackman and Will Smith. This is sort of like an unofficial sequel / spin-off of The Conversation, which was one of Gene Hackman's early classics from the 70s. Really fast-paced, really well done. Eraser, not as cheeseball as some of Arnold's earlier ones, but has a little bit of a cheesy edge to it. But an entertaining, really entertaining Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. One of my favorites growing up from him. The Equalizer. I just saw Equalizer 2 recently, a few weeks ago. It's okay, but not as good as the first one. The first one's really good. Antoine Fuqua knows what he's doing. E.T., of course, the classic. Annoying thing with this, I bought this, and then a month later, I was on DVD. I was kind of holding out getting the Blu-ray thing. I was like, oh, it was really mad. I got this because it was cheap, and then ended up a month later getting a Blu-ray player. And then they released a collector's edition Blu-ray of this with all kinds of behind-the-scenes stuff that apparently is really good. So maybe I'll bite the bullet and rebuy that one day so we can see some of that stuff. Eurotrip. Discount bin buy, recommended by a friend. It's fun. It's entertaining. I would recommend anybody who's planning a trip to Europe to watch this, or either that or watch it afterwards. I think you'll find some relatable stuff in it. It's goofy, very much so, but it's funny. Evil Dead brought up before, so there's the original Evil Dead, followed up by The Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. The Expendables, I wanted to like this movie a lot more than I think I ever really did. The first one isn't a bad action movie, really, but it feels a bit like a straight-to-DVD action movie with recognizable faces. It took itself way too seriously, in my opinion. For that reason, the second one, I think, is a lot better because it's a bit more tongue-in-cheek. But it also has some very cringy moments in it, like Stallone screaming, "Rest in pieces!" like Really, that line's been around since I was 7. Face Off. A lot of people love to make fun of this movie. I think it's because it's become fun to make fun of Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. But honestly, when this movie came out, it was the shit. And it's still an enjoyable watch. Like, yes, the premise is ridiculous, but lots of movies have ridiculous premises, so why not? The original Fantastic Four hasn't aged too well. It was never an amazing movie, let's be honest. I was just barely out of high school, though, and loving all the superhero movies that were coming out of the comic book movies that we hadn't seen when I was younger. And I don't think this is as bad as it gets credit for, but I am glad that they're redoing it. I think that it has so much wasted potential in these original ones, so, and then this one as well. Which I think for entertainment value, this one's probably the better one. But they also have a lot of really weird creative choices in it, like Mr. Fantastic's fabric suddenly stretches in weird ways. The Fifth Element, just pure sci-fi fun. What sci-fi fan doesn't like The Fifth Element? I ask you. The Fly, David Cronenberg's The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. Very good horror movie. Foul Play. This is from before my time. Apparently a big deal in its day, though. Bought this previously viewed because I had seen it on TV once and really liked it. It's a mistaken identity spy comedy, basically. Fun with Dick and Jane. It was a remake of a Jane Fonda movie. I'm forgetting who the guy was in the Jane Fonda version. This was the height of I watched it in the theaters and I was halfway entertained by it, so let's buy it on DVD when I was kind of just buying everything. It's not one I revisit a lot. I did enjoy it at the time. I don't honestly know what my thoughts on it would be if I watched it again now. It's been a long time. The idea of owning these, by the way, is that, some of them are just kind of like bad buys or whatever, but the idea is I would rewatch them all at some point. Time isn't always on my side for that, but maybe one day you're retired and you just watch them constantly. Gangster Squad. A lot of people shit on this one as well. I really enjoyed the game. Here's my Gangster Squad story. Went to Whistler for a friend's birthday, and the first night, between drinking a lot and also sleeping on a shitty cot, I really didn't sleep well at all. So the next day I was exhausted. We were all kind of in this mellow mode. There's a movie theater in Whistler. Someone was like, let's go watch a movie, and Gangster Squad was playing. And I was having a hard time staying awake during it. I was kind of like, I was doing this, I was fighting hard, but I was just so tired, and I was kind of doing that a lot. And then something happened. I don't want to say it for spoilery reasons, but a thing happened, and when it happened, I just kind of went, whoa, like that, and it kind of got my attention, and then I was wide awake for the rest of it. It was like, it was a good moment. So I think Gangster Squad is underrated. It has a lot of style to it, kind of like Brian De Palma's Untouchables, but with a bit more modern kind of showiness, I guess. Get Smart. I would call this one underrated, to be honest. It's I like it. The original Get Smart is always a classic, and I think it's a hard act to follow, but if they're going to do it, I think they did a good job. Ghostbusters 1 and 2, gotta have Ghostbusters, of course. Such a Ghostbusters fan growing up that might be one worth rebuying. I don't really like rebuying necessarily unless there's good reason to, like just because the format changes. It might be another story if we eventually get to a point where DVDs can't be played. I won't buy a new DVD now, but I'm not in a panic to replace the ones I already have. But that one, Ghostbusters being such a huge part of my my growing up, why not? French Connection 1 and 2. This was really cheap as part of a 2-for deal, I think. And as a film nerd, I knew a lot about the French Connection, but I had never seen it. So when I saw that opportunity, I was like, sold. So I bought it, and it is a good movie. The Frighteners. I love this. I feel like not enough people talk about The Frighteners. I think Frighteners, it's Peter Jackson. I think it was his first American movie before he did Lord of the Rings. And it's Michael J. Fox in a horror movie, which you don't really expect. But there's a twist to it that makes it not. It's creepy at times. It's never really scary. It's almost more of a comedy in a lot of ways, but it has legitimate like kind of mystery thriller element to it. More people need to see The Frighteners. And Forbidden Planet, one of the few sci-fi movies in the 50s that actually has a studio budget behind it. MGM produced it, and they even hired the Walt Disney Studio to do some animation effects for part of it. It's not cartoony at any point, but back in the day, they only had so much to work with, so they did some 2D effects in a way that doesn't look 2D. That's pretty cool. Next up, we have Ghost Rider. There's some very cool stuff in this movie. There's some very not good stuff in this movie. I like Nicolas Cage. I'm fine with... He's done some weird, shitty movies, no question. Generally okay with his portrayal of... I think it could have just done with a couple of rewrites, to be honest. I think everybody that's in it does a good job. The climax is really super lackluster. I think they over-designed the shit out of the bike. It's kind of a neat-looking bike, but his bike was never like that in the comics. There's no reason for it to be that convoluted with detail. There's issues with it. I talked about it in the storyboarding class of the term, and not in a good way, to be honest. Here's the girl with the dragon tattoo. I've never actually seen the Swedish versions. I always wanted to see the Swedish versions. I just never gotten around to it. I love the books, and I love David Fincher. So there was no way, even though a lot of people were like, the Swedish version's better, there was no way I wasn't going to be excited about David Fincher directing Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. The Godfather trilogy. This was a gift, I think, specifically because I had already seen it, and they are good movies. The first two more so. But someone was like, "I know what a movie fan you are, and I realized you don't have the Godfather trilogy, so it seemed like something a movie buff should have." And they're right, so I have it. Godzilla. This is the remake from just a few years ago, which I have some problems with, but I also like it. It's got some good stuff. Gone Girl, another David Fincher movie. Gone Girl is really good. I don't got much more to say than that. It comes with a little book, by the way, that is a recreation of the children's book that's talked about a lot in the show, or in the movie. The Goonies, one of my favorites growing up. Gotta own The Goonies. Gotta rewatch that every few years. Horrible Bosses. Probably, in my opinion, among the better comedies of recent years. Like it a lot. Still good for a laugh. Gravity. Every once in a while I hear people shit on Gravity. I don't get it. Gravity's great. It's very well done. Very suspenseful. That's some Gremlins. Christmassy movie. Always loved Gremlins. Grindhouse. This is the version of it that has both. So I saw Grindhouse in the theaters, really liked it. Grindhouse is a Quentin Tarantino movie with he did Death Proof, and it's a Robert Rodriguez movie who did Planet Terror. And they stick the two movies together. They fill in the gaps in between them in the beginning and end with like fake movie trailers that are homages to these old 70s B movies, kind of schlocky R-rated B movies. And it's a really fun time. But when it first came out on Blu-ray, I was like dying to watch it again because I loved it so much in theaters. They released them as the movie separately and then added kind of like the extended versions of each movie, which I don't think you noticed too much in Rodriguez's version, but Quentin's movie was already a little on the long side, so they kind of padded it out extra for that DVD release or Blu-ray release. So it wasn't as good. Then eventually I came across the version that actually had them together with the original parody trailers, and had to get it. Guardians of the Galaxy. That's pretty high on my favorite Marvel movies list, I think. And Volume 2 is not as good, but it's not bad. It's still pretty fun. The original Halloween. And then Halloween 2. And then Halloween H2O. Original Halloween will forever be a classic. The second one's pretty decent. It picks up immediately where it left off. But all the sequels after that kind of sucked. There are worse things to watch if you're looking for a horror movie or in Halloween, but they're not great. And then on the 20th anniversary, they brought Jamie Lee Curtis back to do this one, which has all of the pitfalls of all the 90s slasher movie tropes that kind of came in the wake of Scream, which is unfortunate, but I think, to me, it's outweighed by the cool factor of Jamie Lee Curtis' return and some of the character stuff they do involving her and her like PTSD with Michael Myers. And it kind of ignores all the sequels that came in between, which is funny because then they did it again a couple years ago where they did just called Halloween, and ignored everything that happened after the first movie, and it was a more direct sequel. This is definitely better than Halloween H2O. H2O is better than it gets credit for, but this is still the better follow-up for sure. I like that one a lot. I'm looking forward to the sequels. Hancock. I want to give this one another chance, but this is sort of an example of, like I talked about before, kind of like just quickly buying stuff where it was not the movie I expected. There's the thing is, it was marketed as a superhero comedy about this like just washed up alcoholic superhero, but what it actually is almost more of like a character study about what it's like to have these godlike powers and how that kind of screws with your psyche and stuff. It has like a tragic love story element to it too. It's not a bad movie, but it wasn't what I expected. It better when you come at it with the right side. Hangover. That's up there on the recent comedies list. Hangover is a lot of fun. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. This is that pulpy horror comic booky stuff that I love, that I talked about before, and this is one of the better ones of recent years. I think The Heat. I like The Heat quite a bit. Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock are pretty even. I was surprised that they didn't do something to it. I think it did pretty well. Hellboy and Hellboy 2. Neither are perfect movies, but I like them more than I don't like them. There is a lot of good stuff to be had in both. Guillermo del Toro, I am a fan. Here is the Alfred Hitchcock collection. This is not all of his movies, because how could it be? But it has Rear Window, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, and The Burnt. I think my two favorite Hitchcock movies of all time are Psycho and Rear Window. Go back and forth about what my favorite is. But these are all good movies. I don't think I've rewatched any of them since getting the Blu-ray, but the collection. But I've seen them all multiple times on like Turner Classic Movies and stuff beforehand, which is why I was down to buy them. I think I got it really reasonably cheap too. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I was talking about this with somebody recently. I actually really want to rewatch this. I'm a fan of the book as well. Surprised it's not on Disney Plus actually. The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, followed by The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug, and The Hobbit: The Battle of Five Armies. Coming off of Lord of the Rings, these are not anywhere near as good. There's good stuff to be found in all three of them. Ultimately, it should have been one movie or two at the very most. It was the very definition of cash grab to split it up into three movies. It's annoying on principle as much as anything else. Hocus Pocus, one of the favorite Halloween movies growing up. There's honestly just not enough Halloween movies. There's lots of horror movies out there, but there's not a lot that actually like played with the whole Halloween theme, Hook. Loved this movie growing up. Still really hits me in the feels in a lot of ways. Always been a fan of the Peter Pan world. Loved Neverland. Iron Man. One of my favorite. Still. It's the very first of the MCU and still one of the best. Iron Man 2. There is a lot of fun stuff to be had in Iron Man 2, but it's definitely not as good as the first one. A little preoccupied with setting up the next movies. Iron Man 3. I like Iron Man 3 more than most people, I think. The stuff that irritated people in it, I don't think really bothered me at all. I get why people were annoyed about the Mandarin, but I still thought it was a good twist, and it's hard to do the Mandarin now without being horribly racist, so I kind of understand why they changed it. iRobot. Who am I rewatching this one? This one's got a pretty cool slipcover because it's like clear. It's been a long time since I saw iRobot, but liked it a lot when I saw it. The Island, another Michael Bay one. I think this might be the last half decent Michael Bay movie that I'm remembering, unless I'm forgetting one. It's not credited as a remake of Logan's Run, but it's basically a remake of Logan's Run. It, Chapter 1, and It, Chapter 2. I like Chapter 1 more than Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is good, but a little bit too long, and I would have liked to have learned more about them as adults. The book is really good too, except for really weird things in it. Jaws, one of my favorite all-time movies. This is one that I should definitely rebuy on Blu-ray just for the sake of all the behind-the-scenes stuff. There's a documentary on it. Apparently, that's really good. Jeepers Creepers. I really like Jeepers Creepers. It's a really good horror movie. The director is a shitty human being, a convicted pedophile. He should not have been given the opportunity to make this movie. So I have a love-hate thing with this movie where I like it, but I don't want to like it. So I haven't actually rewatched it since I found out about it. There's just some shots in it that I kind of wonder what the motivation was behind some of the shots, knowing those things. Jennifer's Body. I've only seen this one once. I remember when it came out, wanting to see it, but didn't see it, and then I think I literally bought this for like $3, and it was around Halloween, so I was like, okay, let's watch Jennifer's Body. And it's not... I don't think I loved it. I don't think I hated it. I think it was just sort of like, that was an entertaining enough 90 minutes, but I didn't have strong feelings either way about it. Might give that one another watch maybe next Halloween, though. John Wick. John Wick 2. John Wick, the first one, is definitely the best one. There's just something so great about the simplicity of that. John Wick 2 expands the world. The plot gets a little more convoluted, but it's still decent in its own right. John Wick 3, I think, arguably is the better one. You might notice I had the first two on Blu-ray, or better than two, I mean. The other first two were Blu-ray, this one's DVD. That's because this was actually given to me. I was tabling at a small con, and they were handing these out to everybody. So if I was buying it, I would have got the Blu-ray, but I'm not going to say no to a free movie. Joker. I think there might be a discrepancy in my alphabetizing, actually. Actually, wait, John Wick, that makes sense. Jaws. I'll have to double check. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's working. Joker. What can I say? Recent movie, recent addition to the collection, and it's very good. Jurassic Park, the original 3 movies. It opens like a book, and they come out. Oh shit! Might need to rebuy that one now. The first Jurassic Park will forever be a classic. It's kind of a masterpiece, in my opinion. All the sequels, nowhere near as good, but they're usually at least fun, until Fallen Kingdom. I don't have Fallen Kingdom, but I do have Jurassic World. It is, this pissed off a lot of people. It plays it very, very safe. It's repeating a lot of the stuff from the original movie. I don't know, I think I got caught up in the nostalgia of it. Yes, it's not near as good of a movie. None of the sequels are, but it was fun enough. I was fine with it. Joyride is an underrated thriller. I really like that one a lot. I'm tempted to quote it, but I don't want to spoil stuff. Kick-Ass. I love Kick-Ass. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then here's Kick-Ass 2, which is not as good as the first one, but it's not bad. The first one's a lot better, if I'm being honest, but it's fine. Kill Bill and Kill Bill Volume 2. First time I watched the two of them, I liked the first movie a lot better because it had more action. Second time I watched it, I realized the second one is actually way better than the first one. King Kong. That's Peter Jackson King Kong, by the way, which I liked. I really wasn't into the sequel at all, but I loved the first Kingsman so much. I was so not sold on that first trailer, and then when I saw it, I was so taken by it. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Shane Black movie. Love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The dialogue. Oh, the dialogue. Kong Skull Island. I think this one had a bit of a bad rap too. I thought this was very entertaining. It has some really good cinematography and some great shots too. The Lethal Weapon series, all 4 of them. Hot Fuzz. Definitely one of my favorite comedies. Like I said, I love Edgar Wright, probably my favorite director working today. Hulk, this is Ang Lee's Hulk. There's a lot of issues, to be sure. I think it's better than it gets credit for them. It is longer than it should be. It tries to get way deeper than it should be, but it's not a terrible interpretation, in my opinion. There's The Hunger Games, and Hunger Games: Catching Fire. I liked the first two movies quite a bit. I liked the books as well. The third book that got split into two movies, I really wasn't into that first movie, and I still haven't seen the fourth one, which is not. It's very out of character for me. Like I said, I'm kind of a completist, so that says a lot about how disappointed I was with that one. I Am Legend. This has been made quite a few times. It was first made as The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, and then it was remade as The Omega Man with Charlton Heston, and then it was I Am Legend with Will Smith. It's a decent movie all around. I think Will Smith's performance in it is what really gets my attention. One scene in particular, Inception, might be my favorite Christopher Nolan movie outside of maybe Dark Knight. Incredible Hulk. I think this one's underrated because they recast Banner after this one. It gets kind of swept under the rug a little bit, but I don't know. I thought this was pretty fun. It's basically just monsters beating the shit out of each other. So, Independence Day. This was huge when I was a kid, so I was excited to rewatch that when I got it on DVD. Indiana Jones, maybe my favorite franchise of all time. Raiders of the Lost Ark was definitely one of my up there for my favorite movies. All three of them are good though. And then we have Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I think is better than it gets credit for on the whole, but has a few really bad, kind of unforgivable scenes. No question. The nuking the fridge, the swinging around with the monkeys, whatnot. But there's some good stuff in there too. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is probably my favorite of the sci-fi B movies of the 50s. Inglourious Bastards. Okay, well, I kind of forget what some of these cases have. I like that a lot. It's the first Tarantino movie I ever saw in a theater. Inside Man. Probably my favorite Spike Lee movie. Although Black Klansman is also very good. Life. I like Life quite a bit. I guess I won't argue it as a bit of a throwaway movie in some regards. There's not a lot to it, but that's fine. What's wrong with that? It's a tight, like 90-minute movie, or maybe not even that. And I like it. Logan, of course, honestly, probably the best of the whole X-Men universe that Fox has put out. The Long Kiss Goodnight, another Shane Black written one, directed by Rennie Harlan. This one's an underrated gem, in my opinion, for action movies. Here we have the Lord of the Rings trilogy, original 3. I like the Lord of the Rings movies. I never want to watch one without watching them all, and since they're all 3 hours or more, it's a huge commitment, so I don't revisit them too often, but I do like them. There's the extended version of Fellowship of the Ring. It's the only extended edition that I have. I got it as a gift. There's stuff that was added to the extended version that are worthwhile, that really do flesh things out more. I think the extended versions of the other two movies are really unnecessary. They just make them longer, and they're already way too long. Actually, to be honest, I assume I watched this, but I'm not sure if I actually did. This came with the extended version of the thing. It was in a gift set. It's a National Geographic documentary about Middle-earth and stuff. Lucky Number 11. I love a good crime movie. This has got very snappy, fun dialogue, solid twists and turns, very strong ending, and a lot of humor as well. All very well acted into. Machete. This is actually a spin-off of Grindhouse in kind of a weird way. Machete is a very fun, bloody B movie. I'm always down for that kind of schlocky stuff. Machete Kills, the sequel. They teased a Machete Kills again, but I don't know if we're ever going to get it. Mad Max, the original Mad Max. Forever a classic. And then we have The Road Warrior, also known as Mad Max 2, which is probably my favorite of the original 3 Mad Max movies. This next stack over to me. And then Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the third one. The climax of this is already kind of foreshadowing Fury Road, I would argue. Speaking of which, Mad Max Fury Road. Love Fury Road. Man of Steel. The Christopher Reeve Superman movies were among my favorite movies as a kid, and in my opinion, in terms of storytelling and character, this doesn't touch those with a 20-foot pole. It has some really well done character moments, like Clark learning how to control his super hearing and stuff with his mom and whatnot. Its biggest thing though, just that as much as I love those Christopher Reeve movies, we never got to really see Superman truly be Superman in an action sense, and this one very much delivers on that, so I did like that. There's great moments in that movie, but it doesn't all gel the way you want it to. Magnificent Seven, the remake. I don't think this has as much depth to it as the original Magnificent Seven, and definitely not as much as Seven Samurai. But it's this is more of just a pure action movie, I think, really. But I'm fine with that. I was very entertained when I saw Magnificent Seven. And here's the original Magnificent Seven, plus the Alamo. And to be honest, I don't know if I've ever seen the Alamo. If I did, I definitely haven't watched it since I got the DVD, but I might have seen it before. It's only here because it was in the combo for Magnificent Seven. This was a gift that came with the remake. Mars Attacks, another Tim Burton movie. I was let down by this as a kid. Well, I kind of liked it as a kid just because it was fun in a weird way, but I don't think I was expecting it to be this laugh out loud riot. And even to this day, I won't say that it is, but I do very much enjoy Mars Attacks. I don't really know why, but it is. Matinee, very good movie, and an underrated movie. It's about kids that are movie buffs during the Cuban Missile Crisis that are super excited that their favorite filmmaker is coming to town to show their new movie, played by John Goodman, who is a version of William Castle, who's famous for putting like buzzers and seats and stuff, like all these gimmicks with his movies. And it's a fun dramedy that's kind of a slice of 60s life, I guess, which I was never alive for, but I don't know. I love the retro aesthetic and stuff. Glad I wasn't alive during that time, because for a lot of reasons those eras kind of sucked, but there was some cool stuff too. Maverick. Mel Gibson, directed by Richard Donner, who did Lethal Weapon. Of course, we now know that Mel, probably kind of an asshole, but I won't deny that he made some pretty fun movies back in the 90s. The Mel Brooks Collection, which includes The 12 Chairs, The Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, Silent Movie, High Anxiety, History of the World Part 1, To Be or Not to Be, Spaceballs, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Love Mel Brooks ever since I was a kid. Had to get that when it came out. I think I binged most of those movies in one night when I bought it too. Here's El Mariachi and Desperado. El Mariachi is the movie that Robert Rodriguez made just as a exercise to learn how to make a movie, basically. And then it turned out to be really good, so it got bought, and then he essentially remade it with Desperado, starring Antonio Banderas. Men in Black, the original Men in Black. That was big when it first came out, for me anyway. Men in Black 2 and Men in Black 3. Neither 2 or 3 are as strong as the first one, as is often the case, but they're both entertaining. They're fun. 3, I think, was a lot better than 2, actually, which I wasn't expecting. Meet the Parents, original Meet the Parents. Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched it. There's a terrible Photoshop job going on with De Niro's face there. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I rewatched this a lot when it came out. So. And Meet the Fockers, not as good as the first one, but entertaining. Barbara Streisand and Dustin Hoffman are really good as the Fockers. Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams classic. Another one from my childhood. Monty Python's The Life of Brian. And Monty Python's The Holy Grail. Both great. I think Life of Brian gets overlooked a little bit because Holy Grail is so good, but they're both worth watching. Night at the Museum. This is also from that era where I was, see the chain cover, buying pretty much everything that was halfway entertaining. I think the first one, anyway. I don't know if I saw either of the sequels actually. I think it's a better movie for kids, if I'm being honest. Even though I wasn't a kid when I saw it, but I don't know. It was. I think I was swept up by the premise more than anything. Minority Report. This one would be worth me rebuying on Blu-ray just to get it in widescreen because it's in full screen. But this is among my favorite, or at least favorite sci-fi action movies. At least here is Misery, of course. The classic sledgehammer cover there. Okay, here we go. Mission Impossible 1, followed by Mission Impossible 2, followed by Mission Impossible 3, followed by Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I don't have the most recent one, but I should get that. Mission Impossible 2 sucks. I'm just gonna call it what it is. Has a couple okay moments, but it sucks. And the first one's really good, but it's a very more serious espionage mystery kind of movie. And then all of a sudden it turns into this adrenaline rush action movie that is just way too entertaining to not enjoy. The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser version, Steven Sommers, and The Mummy Returns. The CG rock at the end of it, unfortunate. Plot-wise, the first one's better, but I do think this one's solidly entertaining, if nothing else. But the CG at the end is questionable. Murder by Death, definitely in my top 3 to 5 comedies of all time. But all the characters are parodies of famous literary detectives, and they're all invited to a mansion to solve a murder. And hilarity ensues. The Naked Gun trilogy. If I'm an Airplane fan, which you already know that I am, how can I not love The Naked Gun? National Treasure and National Treasure 2, starring the true National Treasure, of course, Nicolas Cage. They're good. More entertaining than the Da Vinci Code, ultimately. Even the Da Vinci Code is maybe technically better. Maybe. Nice Guys. Sort of it's Shane Black going back to a similar vibe of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I think, would be a fun double feature to do sometime, but I haven't done that. Just got this past Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. This was a horror blind spot for me for a really long time, so was stoked to finally see them, and I watched them all in just a couple nights. Here's Oceans 11, 12, and 13, plus the original Oceans 11 with the Rat Pack. I like the original one's fun in a retro way. I like Oceans 11 quite a bit. Oceans 12 I think kind of sucked. Oceans 13 is a lot better than 12, and it's solidly entertaining, but it's still not as good as 11. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Wall Street's one, of course. I don't think that actually, to be honest, holds up the best as a movie, but as a movie buff, I just really enjoy that whole slice of old Hollywood kind of thing. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the sequel to Desperado. Sorry, not Hollywood, Mexico. The sequel to Desperado, and it's very good. It lags around, but I like it. It's good. One Night at McCool's. This was among the first DVDs again. They didn't talk a lot about DVDs in the movie. I saw this in theaters with my mom at the time, and we quoted it a lot. And then I bought the DVD. Dad liked it too. We rewatched it quite a bit. It has a Rashomon approach to it, where the story is told from a bunch of different perspectives, and they don't always jive, but it's a comedy. Pacific Rim. This movie was never as fun as I wanted it to be, if I'm being honest, but I still enjoyed it. It is a good turn off your brain popcorn one. I have revisited it for that reason a couple of times. Panic Room. Very strong thriller. Another David Fincher movie. Like I said, I'm a fan. Paul. This one doesn't get enough love. I like Paul quite a bit, actually. I think it's a good one. I think because it's Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, I think everyone wants to compare it to Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead and stuff, and it's not on that level. It's not Edgar Wright, but I think it's good in its own right. Here's Payback. So here's a Payback story. Here's Payback. Here's another Payback. So Payback had a bunch of production issues that I was not aware of, and this is the version that got released, and this is the version that I saw and I really, really, really liked. Turns out that this is actually a heavily re-edited, reshot studio version of it, and this is actually the one that the original director wanted. And it doesn't happen too often, but I will argue that this is the much better movie. This one was just kind of very unsatisfying, and I was not digging on this one at all. So I bought this one thinking I was buying this one, and was really let down when it was a completely different movie. Normally, I'm champion of the filmmaker, but Peter Pan. I think I bought this specifically so that I could watch it as a double feature with Hook, with my cousin years ago. But this version isn't bad. It's not bad. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Tim Burton's first ever movie. I loved Pee-wee Herman as a kid. When I got this on DVD, I hadn't seen it in probably like 20 years. And when I watched it, it had all this like nostalgia, like stuff that I remembered that I forgot that I had remembered, if that makes sense. Pete's Dragon. I don't know if you would consider this in the same category as the live action remakes that Disney's been doing a lot, because the original one was live action as well, but this is a good movie. I got it as a gift. I don't know if I would have bought it myself, because it's in more recent years and I've been a little bit more choosy, and because I don't know how many times I would rewatch it, but I don't regret owning it now that I have it, because it is a good one. Pineapple Express. I haven't watched this forever, but I know I liked it a lot at the time. Oh, there's an ordering issue here. But here is Pirates of the Caribbean, A Stranger Tides. Here is Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. And here is Pirates of the Caribbean, At World's End. And Pirates of the Caribbean 1. Definitely the best of the whole series. 2 and 3, I think, like, it clearly wasn't intended to be a trilogy and they stretched it too thin. 4, I think, was at least it was a new story, not an attempt to continue. But the first one will always be the best by far. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, comedy classic. John Candy used to be one of my favorite actors when I was a kid. Love that movie. Planet of the Apes, Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Compared to the original Planet of the Apes or the newer ones like Rise and Dawn and stuff, it's nowhere near as good. But there's not a horrible sci-fi movie at the center of it. But it's very different. I think if they would rather see them do something that wasn't a remake of it, and just do their own sci-fi thing. On that trend though, here's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. War of the Planet of the Apes. And here's the original Planet of the Apes Legacy collection. So that's Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Battle for the Planet of the Apes. These are the best, and the newer ones are great too. Like the Tim Burton one, I loved it when I was when it first came out. And I was like 14 and stuff. And I don't think I'd seen the original one yet, so I didn't really know. And then I think I stumbled on this one for really cheap, and I was under the impression that the sequels were apparently terrible. But honestly, like the first one is no question the better movie, but the sequels aren't terrible. There's one that I really wasn't into, but the other one, and then one that was mixed, but the other ones are really not bad. Here's Planet Terror. This was Robert Rodriguez's half of Grindhouse, which I think is the better of the two movies on it. I prefer, if I'm going to watch a movie, one of the two movies on its own, it would be this one, but I do really like watching it as a double feature with the trailers and stuff that I mentioned. Predator, Predator 2, and Predators. I haven't seen the newest one yet. I've heard not great things from most people, but I'm down to give it a chance. I kind of want to rewatch these ones again first, though, because it's been a while. They're a lot of fun. The first one, again, by far the best, but that one's right. The Prestige. I think this is an underrated Christopher Nolan movie, actually, about competing magicians. Different intrigue. Pulp Fiction, of course, the Tarantino classic. The Punisher, the Thomas Jane version of The Punisher, which I think was kind of underrated as well, to be honest. It's I think it's just that we've seen so many like revenge movies like Death Wish and stuff that The Punisher doesn't really seem as interesting or different. But I kind of liked what they did with that one. There's some cheesiness for sure, some really cringy cheesiness in it sometimes. But here's Return of the Living Dead. Not actually affiliated with Night of the Living Dead, which is my favorite zombie movie of all time, which I weirdly don't know why. This is almost more of a parody, without directly referencing the story or anything, and it's a really fun horror comedy. Road to Perdition, great crime movie with Tom Hanks as a hitman, so playing against type. RoboCop, the original RoboCop, the best RoboCop. The Rock, again, this is the early Michael Bay that I'm talking about. This is his first movie, I think. Or no, Bad Boys, I guess. This was his second movie. But oh, shit. But, great one. Welcome to The Rock. The Rocketeer. Underrated gem. This apparently tanked at the time when it first came out. But this is, it's The Rocketeer, man. This is a great movie. It's so fun. Rat Race. I think I liked it more when I first saw it than I do when I do now, just because I think I know the jokes too well. But I do still enjoy it. I actually rewatched this one for the first time in quite a while, not long, and it's still made me laugh. So even if it wasn't quite as hard as the first time, it still does some. Still quote some lines from it too. Ready or Not, it's a fairly recent one. Like one of the last movies I saw in theaters before COVID. It was really good. I thought it was going to be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek than it turned out it was, which threw me off. I thought there was going to be a lot more humor in it, but I really liked it as it is as well. So, I've seen that one a couple times already. Ready Player One. Kind of first sci-fi movie Spielberg has done in a while. Definitely not as good as Prime Spielberg from the 80s and 90s, but it's a fun ride and love all the nostalgia stuff, especially as a movie nerd. Red, Retired, and Extremely Dangerous. The sequel is not that good. Again, this was at the height of my movie buying phase there, where I just bought everything that was halfway entertaining. I don't think it's a bad movie. This is one I want to rewatch, actually. This is one of The Rock's first movies, The Rundown, which was a really entertaining movie. Directed by Peter Berg, by the way. The Rush Hour trilogy. The first one's the best. The second one is a close second. The third one's nowhere near as good. When you watch them all back to back to back, you realize how repetitive some of it actually can be, especially once you get into the third one. But the first two in particular are very fun buddy cop movies. Scream 1, 2, and 3. Scream 4 isn't my favorite, but if I had it, I would include it on a watch marathon if I was to binge all these movies. I like Scream. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. If you haven't seen Scott Pilgrim, you should definitely watch Scott Pilgrim. Another Edgar Wright movie. Seven. Another David Fincher movie. Here's Shanghai Noon, Shanghai Nights, Jackie Chan again. Owen Wilson this time. The first one's a lot better than the second one. But Shape of Water. I really like Shape of Water. I want to do a double feature one night with this and Creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm a lot busier than you would expect somebody who has this many movies, so I don't get the opportunity to do these marathons all that often, but I do like to do it when I can. Here's Shaun of the Dead. Edgar Wright again. Romantic comedy with zombies. Sherlock Holmes and Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows. I like the Downey as Holmes. I like Guy Ritchie's take on it as well. The Shining, of course, the Kubrick horror classic. I haven't seen Dr. Sleep yet. I read the book though, really like the book. Shoot 'em Up. This is a really cheesy, in the best possible way, action movie. There's almost no plot. It's basically a Bugs Bunny Elmer Fudd cartoon, but it's just goofy, silly action shoot 'em up, fun with ridiculous one-liners from Clive Owen doing these kind of puns and stuff. Shooter. This movie is from 2007. It has a 90s action movie vibe. It's another Anton Fuqua movie, and it's been a while, but I remember liking it for a bit. When I saw it, I've seen it a few times, so I feel like I can't dissect it too much without rewatching it. But I know I bought it for a reason. Shutter Island. If I'm being honest, I saw the twist coming a mile away, and that kind of ruined it a bit for me. But it's still a great atmospheric movie, thriller. Sicario. I really need to watch Sicario again. This was given to me as a gift. I hadn't seen it, and then I watched it while I was sick one day, and I fell asleep during it. But I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I liked what I saw. I just wasn't in a position to sit through it, I think, when I was sleep deprived and feeling shitty. Sin City. God, I love Sin City. The graphic novels and the movies. I love the noir stuff. I guess I'm saying that a lot, because there's a lot of genres that I love, but some more than others. Which also brings us to Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. The thing with this is it took them way too long to do the sequel, and A Dame to Kill For is a fairly long story. A Dame to Kill For is one of the segments in it, and it's I think right up there with the first one. There's another one that's an original story written just for the movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt that I think is pretty weak, and I'm blanking on what the other story is and what I thought of it. But yeah, no, this isn't bad. It's just not as tight as that first one. Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. Pulpy fun and retro fun all together. So that's why I like that one. It's the reason I like Rocketeer so much too, I think. Sleepy Hollow, another Tim Burton one. It's been a few years since I watched that, but I do really like it. It was a Halloween staple every year for a while. Smoking Aces. I should watch this one again. It's more about style and action than it is about any kind of really coherent story, but it's a decent one. Snakes on a Plane. It's cheesy in the best possible ways. I am a fan. Been a long time. Snatch. Another Guy Ritchie one. I think my favorite Guy Ritchie movie. I love a good crime caper. Sorcerer's Apprentice. I don't think I've watched this since I bought it. This was another impulse buy, I think, but I think it was, as I recall, it was fun enough. I just think, I'm pretty sure I did buy this one for a reason. I think I did like it, but I definitely liked it, but whether or not it's one I would still buy if I hadn't bought it already, I don't know. Speed, one of my favorite action movies of all time. Die Hard, that came up earlier. That's also one of my... Speed and Die Hard are my top two. Always. The original Spider-Man, Sam Raimi. Spider-Man 2. I haven't rewatched this in a long time, but I generally think of it as one of the best comic book movies ever. If I rewatch it now, maybe I won't still think that. I don't know. Spider-Man 3. Not great. Has some redeeming qualities in it. I don't think it's deserving of all the hate that it gets, but it's deserving of most of it. We'll say that. But Completist, I think I just wanted to like it so much, there was no way I was going to not buy it, but on repeat, I was like, yeah, I can't. Spider-Man Homecoming. Good shit. I don't really have anything bad to say about Spider-Man Homecoming. And, oh, this is actually a 2-pack, so I actually got this as a gift that included the first one, so I have 2 copies of the first one, so I'm going to take that one out. Maybe someone might get that as a re-gift. But there's Far From Home. And, Homecoming, really good. Tom Holland's a good Spidey. Star Trek. This is the JJ version of it. And Into Darkness and Beyond. So I know a lot of Trekkies hate these ones, especially Into Darkness. I wasn't really a Trekkie when I discovered these ones for the first time. I just watched it to be a sport more than anything, and really enjoyed it. And then I really liked the sequels. I've since watched all of the Star Trek shows, and I do consider myself a fan now, but I still haven't caught up with the movies yet. So, I still enjoy those movies. I don't know if maybe because I saw them first, I'm less critical of them. I don't know. Phantom Menace. I still think the weakest of the prequels. Attack of the Clones, some will argue me. on that one. Attack of the Clones has some really cringy moments with some of the romantical stuff, and I'm not crazy on the Yoda fight necessarily. It's kind of cool on one level and kind of shitty on another. But I think there's a mystery element that I really like. There's some really fun stuff in it, so I think it's more coherent, I think, than Phantom Menace. It's not as disjointed. Sith is definitely the best. Prequels. And we have the original trilogy. Don't need to say much about that. It's Star Wars for God's sakes. And then Force Awakens, which is very much like A New Hope, but I was fine with that as a way of kind of getting everybody back on the Star Wars train. Last Jedi, I liked okay. I had some problems with it, but I was like, you know what? It's fine. I want to see where they're going with it. They're setting stuff up. And then Rise of Skywalker didn't pay any of them off and just sucked in general. And then Last Jedi is retroactively not as good, in my opinion. Rogue One is probably the best Star Wars movie that they've done since Disney bought them. I think Rogue One is really good. And I think Solo is underrated, actually. I don't think we needed it. I think it's completely pointless to do a Han Solo origin story, but if you're going to do it, it's at least entertaining. I have some major story issues with it. I think I would have rather see them do that exact same story with an original character instead, so we're not comparing him to Harrison Ford and losing the mystery of that character. But you can do a lot worse if you're going to watch a sci-fi adventure movie. Superbad. Haven't rewatched it in a long time, but this was, at the time, probably one of my favorite comedies. I don't know if it still ranks among my favorites now, but I'm sure I would still laugh if I watched it again. Which I will do one day, goddammit. Superman, the original Superman. Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner movie. And then here is Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. I should actually get the original theatrical version too. This is definitely the better movie, or would have been the better movie, but this is cobbled together with I won't get into the whole backstory, but basically there's a bunch of scenes in it that Richard Donner never got to shoot before he was fired, and so they're replaced with either questionable stand-ins or old test footage that wasn't only meant for the movie, so the hairstyles were different. Christopher Reeves hadn't put on the muscle yet, so he's suddenly way thinner in a scene. This definitely would have been the better movie, but the only version that you can watch of it feels unfinished. The theatrical version of it isn't as strong, but that's the version that I watched as a kid, so I got some nostalgia for it. So it'd be worth revisiting. Superman Returns, which I think is a lot better than people give credit for, but I also think that because I was such a fan of those Christopher Reeves movies. It's kind of an homage to those old movies. Quentin Tarantino apparently loved this movie, but it makes sense because most of the movies he makes are homages and stuff, so obviously he's going to dig that approach. I have been known to do some homages myself to old genres and stuff. Super 8, really love to rewatch this one. I think the success of this is maybe what led to Stranger Things. Different creative team, but very similar vibe. Swamp Thing, the original Swamp Thing. The Swamp Thing makeup effects in this were terrible, but it's not a bad movie in a cheesy, fun kind of way. Swamp Thing Returns, or The Return of Swamp Thing, is not an amazing movie, but holy shit did I love this as a kid, and I have so much fun rewatching it now because of that. Also, the case is made to look kind of like an old DVD or VHS case, sort of. The stickers on it. Spectre. So this is the one Bond movie that I have that's not in that set. I was pretty let down by Spectre. I was hoping I would like it more on the second viewing, and I didn't. I think they're going to connect to it a fair bit in the next movie, so maybe it'll feel better retroactively. I don't know, but as a completist, and a Bond fan, I'll get them all. But they can't all be winners, I guess. Taken, the original Taken. I only had the original Taken. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. Maybe my outside of his more indie obscure, like of the standard Will Ferrell vehicles, is probably my favorite of his. It's the original Ninja Turtles movie, which is still awesome. Ted. I don't remember Ted 2 super well. I haven't rewatched this in a long time. Somebody mentioned to me recently about a scene in it that was a bit questionable by today's standards. I don't remember it well enough to really comment on it, but that's unfortunate to hear that. So I don't know if that was the intent or if it just comes off that way or what, but that is too bad. Like, I think it's a movie. But I did laugh a hell of a lot when I saw it the first time. 10 Cloverfield Lane. Really like this movie a lot. If you like thrillers, you should watch 10 Cloverfield Lane. I'm a sucker for claustrophobic thrillers too. Terminator, the original Terminator. How can you go wrong? Terminator 2, one of the best sci-fi action movies of all time. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Took me a while to finally catch this, and when I did, I really liked it. I get why it has the fan base that it does. 300. I feel like Zack Snyder, I think, is a good visual director, and he kind of trips over the story sometimes. This graphic novel that it was based on it was kind of made for him to adapt it. I think this and Dawn of the Dead are probably his best two movies. There's Something About Mary. Still a pretty funny movie, in my opinion. Probably my favorite rom-com of all time. They Live, another John Carpenter classic. Came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. John Carpenter's The Thing, my favorite horror movie of all time. I am overdue to do a Thing drawing on the stream one night. This Is the End. I liked this movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember liking it quite a bit. I think maybe I thought it was a little bit too long, maybe, but no, it was fine. It is what it is. Thor, first Thor movie. Makes sense to be in here. Thor: The Dark World was talking about this recently. This movie gets a lot of shit. It's definitely probably one of, if not the weakest of the Marvel movies, but it's, I feel like you can still do worse in general. I mean, like, there's still some cool stuff. Cases come apart. Thor Ragnarok, definitely the best of the Thor movies. Tom Hanks collection, so it's The Money Pit, The Burbs, and Dragnet. All three of them pretty good movies. Tomb Raider, definitely some cheesiness, especially now. Maybe not so much then, but definitely now. It's been a long time since I've watched it. I feel like I'll still enjoy this. And then, I actually felt like this one was, a lot of people like the first one better. I actually think this one was more grounded. I kind of felt like the other one was a little bit campier, but Total Recall, the remake. This was an impulse buy, I think. But I also think I liked it. I don't like. Well, actually, I know I liked it. I just. I wonder though if I would have bought it as fast as I did if I was seeing it for the first time today. It's not as good as the original Paul Verhoeven Arnold Schwarzenegger version, and it's very different. So if you're comparing it to that, it's not that great. You're gonna be let down, and I think that's where it kind of falls flat because naturally, how are you not gonna compare it? But just as a sci-fi action. This isn't really a movie. You could almost put this in a separate category, actually. But this is a bunch of movie trailers with that are commentaries by different filmmakers. I got that by crowdfunding the website that Joe Dante puts on. Transformers. So the first Transformers movie, which I still will maintain, even though I said some stuff about Michael Bay's opinion on where he went when he went to Transformers. But I like the first one enough. I think it helps that I wasn't in love with the cartoon the way a lot of people were, so I wasn't comparing. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, not that good. This was that phase again where I was instantly buying everything. It has some cool moments, but it's way longer than it should. The story's just all over the place. It meanders in weird directions. It's not. This one was a lot better. Dark of the Moon. I haven't rewatched any of these in a really long time. I think I only saw the third one the second, like maybe twice. The fourth one was terrible. I haven't even seen the fifth one. Bumblebee was good, but there wasn't Michael Bay. I don't know. I think he had fun with the first one. The third one, like I go to a lot of movies with friends. They're entertaining in the theaters, and like even the second one kind of got me in that regard. And then the second viewing, you're like, you learned your lesson. Just why you shouldn't just always buy things right away. Transport. What taught us that Jason Statham could probably kick your ass. Transport was good. Sequel not as good, but not terrible either. Not bad. Third one was 2 and 2, which I don't have either. Trapped in Paradise. It's kind of a fun one. I won't get into a plot breakdown because this video is already getting pretty long. But this is a good one to watch around Christmas. Nicolas Cage in the 90s. Trick or Treat. Favorite Halloween movie of all time. Gotta watch this every year. Tron, the original Tron, does not age very well, but as a film nerd, it's worth having. Very innovative in its day. And then there's Tron Legacy, which I think is better than it gets credit for, quite honestly. I think that they could have expanded on it and done a lot better if they had stuck with it and done another one. Tropic Thunder, one of my favorite comedies in recent years, for sure. Probably up there with Horrible Bosses and Hangover, maybe tops them in the recent category of all time. Especially, again, as a movie nerd, because it really skewers the industry in great satirical ways. True Grit, remake of the John Wayne classic. This one's by the Coen brothers, and I like this one quite a bit. Twilight Zone, the movie, famously had a tragedy on set when they were making this. It's a bunch of short stories. Some are better than others, but it's a fun watch. Van Helsing is so cheesy. This is probably my ultimate guilty pleasure. For a while, I was watching this every Halloween. People love to make fun of this movie because it's so campy and talk about how bad the story is and yada yada yada. The story is ridiculous, but I'm gonna tell you this: all those classic Universal horror monsters, all interacted at some point. They all crossed over. They were like the original cinematic movie universe, and the reasoning for them to cross over was always ridiculous. And this is very much an homage to that because Steven Sommers is clearly a fan of this old movie. So it's ridiculous, but I think it's ridiculous by design. Some cringy dialogue in it for sure, but it's a fun watch, especially around Halloween. I wanted to actually rewatch this Halloween and just never got around to it. True Lies, probably my favorite Schwarzenegger movie. I should actually specify that I think that Terminator movies are better movies on a whole, but I consider them just a sci-fi movie that happens to have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, whereas this movie probably doesn't exist if it's not Schwarzenegger. And my favorite of those. True Romance. Quentin Tarantino wrote it, didn't direct it. Tony Scott directed it. I think I've only ever seen this the one time because I bought it without having seen it because I heard good things. I did like it quite a bit. I also read the script for it. I definitely am due to rewatch that one. UHF, Weird Al movie, hilarious. Just gonna say that. Uncle Buck, probably John Candy's best movie. I don't know how you could not love Uncle Buck. So we got some order discrepancies here again. Here, let me go properly. So there's Underworld, and then Underworld Evolution, and then Underworld Rise of the Lycans, and then Underworld Awakening. There was another one that came after this that was almost unwatchable in my opinion. None of these movies are great, but they're all enjoyable. You might call them guilty pleasures, I guess. They're kind of like the Resident Evil series in that way. Usual Suspects. Unfortunately, we all know Bryan Singer is kind of a dick now, but and he was back then, I'm sure. We just didn't know it. But still a great movie. Also, unfortunately, Kevin Spacey, also a dick. But great movie. I like crime movies especially. Watch Usual Suspects. Alright, we are almost done here. We just got one more stack to get through. V for Vendetta. I feel like if Stanley Kubrick was going to direct a comic book movie, this would be the one he would go for. Vendetta is very good. Vacation, original Vacation, best road trip movies of all time. Also, on that note, by the way, too, I do have some other movies that I'm not mentioning here because I have like a box somewhere of just specifically Christmas movies. The animated ones were still the animation ones. Christmas Vacation is the one that I watch every Christmas. It's probably not on here. It's like, but yeah, so it's reminding me of that. So that means there's actually some more past what I'm doing in this video. But take what you can get. Valerian. Luc Besson, the guy that did Fifth Element. So I bought this not that long ago, and I very much knew what I was getting. I'd seen it in theaters. Here's the weird thing with this. Dane DeHaan, I think, is a good actor. Really miscast in this, and the way the character was written, he's super, super unlikable. Cara Delevingne is okay in it. She's pretty two-dimensional, but she's okay, I guess. The movie is just such pure sci-fi fun that I can't not watch this and be like excited by it, just because I love the imagination that goes into this movie. But the two main characters are really unlikable, and I don't know how. And I feel like Valerian himself should have been Me Too'd really within 10 minutes of this movie starting. So it's yeah, it has some significant flaws, but there's just so much fun stuff in it at the same time. It just gives that pulpy sci-fi stuff that I love. Here's The Villain. This is a little known one. This is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's first movies. It's basically Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner in live action, right down to characters hiding behind little skinny cactus and stuff. I won't get into a whole breakdown about this. See, that's the kind of stuff, if you want to see other videos and along these lines, single out a movie and say you want to hear about it. But I can't promise I'll do it either. I need to see a few people show that interest. I only got so much time for this stuff, guys, but it is fun. Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. I liked this one quite a bit. It's like a parody on every musical biopic ever. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's Wanted. I liked Wanted. Wanted, to me, is sort of like an urban fantasy kind of thing, where it's sort of like, you know, like if Alice in Wonderland was handed guns instead of like little eat me cakes kind of thing. Like it's just this random guy who's bored with his life gets kind of pulled into this world that he never expected. The final line of the movie is what makes it for me. It makes me look back on the whole movie in a totally different way. War of the Worlds, the remake by Steven Spielberg. There's not a lot going on plot-wise with this, but it's a really solidly entertaining, fast-paced roller coaster thriller of a movie. I like War of the Worlds quite a bit. Rewatched it several times. Watchmen, it's a slow watch, so I haven't watched it a ton. I do like it. I always felt like I've read the graphic novel, and I always felt like if I hadn't read it, I don't know if I would like the movie so much. The Watcher in the Woods. So weird story about this one. I watched it in elementary school, but I think I missed the beginning of it, so I didn't know the name of it. And I always had this like memory of this movie, but I didn't know what the hell it was. It freaked me out. I didn't know what it was. And then my cousin told me a similar story, and it turned out that we were both talking about the same movie. And once we figured out what it was, we had to buy it. We had to watch it. So there's The Watcher. One of the only like horror movies that Disney ever did. Who's Harry Crumb? Another John Candy classic. He plays a private detective in it. Pretty funny. There's all kinds of different disguises and stuff. Wild Hogs. This is from the height of me when buying. I think I genuinely liked this movie at the time. I hear people shit on it so much lately that it makes me wonder if I rewatch it now with a bit of a more keenful eye that I've developed in the years since, if I would feel the same way about it. But I don't think I ever would have claimed it was amazing. I definitely enjoyed it at the time. I don't know if I still would today, but I'll give it another shot. Here's the thing, I probably would not enjoy it. I just don't know if I'd be like, that was a good purchase. Wonder Woman, that's a good purchase. I love Wonder Woman. It was great. Looking forward to the new one. World's End, another Edgar Wright movie. This capped off the Cornetto trilogy of Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and World's End. the Wolverine. I liked Logan. Obviously, is the better movie, but I liked the Wolverine. It gets a lot of shit for the climax of it. I mean, it's still a comic book superhero. You're gonna have that big fight at the end. Like, get over yourself. This one sucks. This is X-Men Origins Wolverine. This was in that. This is the completist in me that bought this. This is one that I don't think. I think I thought it was okay, but I was let down by it, and then every time I watched it again, I was like less and less impressed, and it just didn't fade up. It's really not good, especially as a comic book fan, because they totally butcher his backstory. X-Men First Class. If you're looking for comic book canon, this is terrible, but just as a movie, as a sci-fi movie, it's not bad. The original X-Men. A little dated by today's standards, but still pretty good, and also is we have it to thank. That and Spider-Man are what really started giving us a whole boom. X2 is probably my favorite X-Men movie, and it's very different from the '90s cartoon that I grew up with, but it kind of captures that tone, I think, in a lot of ways. X-Men: The Last Stand, not great, but I don't think necessarily the train wreck it's made out to be. I think it's just sort of what could have been, because the original creative team left and then a new team made this. And it wasn't as good. So not great, but not horrible. Days of Future Past was pretty solid. Kind of got the X-Men franchise back on track. And then Apocalypse. I didn't hate Apocalypse, but it definitely took us another step backward and created new continuity errors. I am glad. I'm not crazy on reboots, especially for franchises that aren't that old. But X-Men, I think, is one that there's a lot of untapped potential there. So I'm kind of glad that Marvel is probably going to do that. And Zodiac, another David Fincher movie based on the true story of the Zodiac Killer, and a very strong entry in his library as well. The last thing I have here is another box set that I didn't realize was in the stack with everything else. This is the Ed Wood box. This has Plan 9 from Outer Space, Night of the Ghouls, Bride of the Monster, Jailbait, Glenn or Glenda, and The Haunted World of Edward D. Wood Jr., which I think is just a documentary. None of these movies are good. They're all terrible. But they're very fun to watch for all the wrong reasons. Especially Plan 9. Watch Ed Wood and Plan 9 as back-to-back double feature and have yourself a good time. So that's it. That's all of them. I hope that wasn't too painful, but you also could have turned it off at any time, so if you're still watching right now, it's probably a good sign, I guess. It was kind of fun to reassess everything that I've got there. I kind of remind myself of, I think that the majority of the movies that I actually have are at least decent, but I've definitely bought a few stinkers and some that just haven't aged that well. I'm not that into anymore. And some of them that I'm kind of like, I know I liked it, but it's been so long, that I don't have much opinion. So it's been fun to go back through that. Like I said, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, mention in the comments. If I do continue and if I do more of these at some point, I'll try to figure out my sound setup a little bit better. But since this was, for the time being, what I'm considering kind of more of a one-off, and I'm in the midst of unpacking all my stuff, and I have a lot of work to do, I didn't have time to get too critical with it. So I did my best once I realized how bad it sounded last night. So that's it. And check me out on Twitch. Fan art every Tuesday night and original stuff every Thursday night. So have a good one.